Some time passes. Shinichi gradually returns to a normal life, but the calm proves to be illusory. Rumors begin circulating around the school, and the killing of the creature that attacked Kana has alarmed a group of local parasites, led by a man named Takeshi Hirakawa. Reika attends one of their meetings. He asks her how things are going with the child. The woman explains that she is raising him with the help of a human nanny. As for experiments, it is too early to conduct them. After that, the group discusses the incident with Shinichi. The parasites plan to eliminate him, but Reika intervenes, saying that he's very important for her research and asks to spare his life. The woman hires a detective named Shiro Kuramori to watch the boy, but no matter how hard he tries, he finds nothing noteworthy. Then Reika decides to provoke the boy. She hires 4 thugs for this purpose. According to the plan, while Shiro films with a camera, the men are supposed to attack Shinichi, forcing him to use the parasite's power. But the provocation fails because Shinichi manages on his own, without Migi, which is exactly what Shiro reports to Reika. The woman is surprised by the report but orders the surveillance to continue, so Shiro heads to the boy's house. Due to past events and school gossip, Shinichi begins doubting his humanity again. In the evening, he decides to return to the abandoned building where Kana died, hoping that the place will stir his emotions and allow him to cry. When he leaves the house, the detective follows him. At the abandoned building, Shinichi torments himself over the girl's death again. Migi tries to comfort him but notices the detective filming them, so he immediately attacks. Startled, the man drops the camera and tries to escape. Shinichi tries to stop Migi, but the parasite ignores his attempts. He separates from Shinichi's body and attacks the man again. In the end, Shiro is injured, but the blow is not fatal because of the parasite's light body. Realizing this, Migi returns to Shinichi, telling him not to hesitate, saying that if the detective gets away, it's over for them. But the boy is stuck. He cannot kill, but he also cannot let him go. And while Shinichi hesitates, the detective manages to escape. Returning home, our hero reviews the footage from the camera and discovers that the man has been watching him for a long time. Realizing this, Shinichi becomes paranoid, constantly on edge, thinking that someone is observing him, especially since he has no idea who this detective is or who he works for. At one point, the boy hears Shiro standing under his house. Shinichi runs out onto the balcony, but the detective flees. Realizing that the surveillance has not stopped, the boy becomes completely disheartened. To distract himself, he meets with Satomi in the evening. At first, their conversation sounds very sweet, but soon the girl plays her old record again, saying that Shinichi is no longer the same. Satomi asks him to talk about his problems and trust her. However, the boy lies to her again, claiming that everything is fine. What he says hurts the girl deeply, leading her to conclude that Shinichi doesn't trust her at all. Disappointed, Satomi leaves, leaving the boy alone. Strangely enough, this didn't upset the boy much. He realizes that he's being watched, which means it's better to keep a distance for now. Then Migi says they need to catch the detective and find out who hired him. Understanding that he can't handle this alone, Shinichi decides to involve Mamoru in the plan. So the next day, he meets with the fat guy and discusses their strategy. At the same time, Shiro meets with Reika. The man is completely on edge, which is understandable. The detective tries to figure out what the hell is going on, but the parasite, seeing that he's digging too deep, decides to sever the connection with him. Shiro tries to stop her but falls due to his injury. Watching this, Reika smiles, a reaction uncharacteristic for a parasite. When she gets home, the woman realizes that Shiro's situation amused her greatly, and she starts laughing like a lunatic. The man, after talking with Reika, returns home to his wife and child. He's deeply depressed, but his loving wife comforts him. So, despite the danger, Shiro decides that no matter what it costs him, he will uncover the truth about the parasites. As a result, he continues to watch the boy, which leads him straight into a trap. Shiro is grabbed and taken to a secluded place, where Shinichi tells him everything he knows about the parasites and that they kill humans. He adds that Reika, the one Shiro was working for, is also a parasite. Processing what he has heard, Shiro declares that Shinichi's behavior is irresponsible. In his opinion, the boy should reveal the truth about the parasites to the government, even if it means becoming a test subject, because such an act would be an honor. These words infuriate Migi and his counterpart. They immediately transform, radiating threat, and declare that if he's so smart, he should lie under the scalpel himself. Shinichi, a teenager who has already endured the death of his mother and close friends, should never be subjected to such danger. In the end, Shiro decides to cooperate. In the evening, Reika contacts Shinichi and arranges a meeting on the university rooftop. She arrives with the child. The boy asks why she called him. Reika explains that she wants to exchange information, saying it will be useful for both of them. Shinichi asks about the child she's holding. The woman replies that it is her child, carried for the purpose of experiments. The boy is shocked, but keeps himself together and asks why the parasites decided to enter politics. Reika explains that her kind is evolving. Killing humans is no longer profitable, so the parasites plan to coexist peacefully with them. The boy, recalling his mother, says that even if she is telling the truth, he will never forgive these creatures. Reika guesses why Shinichi says this, and begins mocking him, which makes the boy furious. Realizing she's much weaker than her opponent, the woman shields herself with the child and leaves. As a result of Reika's words, Shinichi spends the whole day running around like a madman, unable to calm down. In the evening, slightly composed, he approaches a fortune teller. The boy offers her his hand, and the woman tells him that she feels a huge emotional void within him. Shinichi asks how it can be healed. The fortune teller replies that he needs to speak with the person responsible for creating that void. But Shinichi declares that it's impossible because he already killed that person long ago. Meanwhile, Sero's investigation starts to yield results. His partner discovers the feeding spot of the local parasites in an underground parking lot. The detective enters, following the pair, and encounters nothing but a bloody mess. The man immediately decides to leave, but unfortunately, a parasite appears and kills him. After his partner's disappearance, Sero decides to involve Shinichi in the case. Together, they head to the underground parking lot. Once inside, they start surveying the area. At that moment, a parasite appears with a new victim. Shinichi hides, waiting for the right moment to strike, but he's too late. The girl is already dead. While Sero records the scene on camera, the boy attacks the parasite. This time, Shinichi changes tactics. Migi focuses on attacking rather than defending, while Shinichi dodges. In the end, the parasite is successfully eliminated. Migi says they need to leave immediately. They have trespassed on the local parasite's territory, who will likely seek revenge. approach, so Shinichi takes the stunned Sero and leads him to a secluded spot. The boy tells the detective that if he wants, he can go to the police and tell the full truth. Migi objects, reminding him that they are also on the recording. But Shinichi replies that he doesn't care. Too many people are dying. However, Sero declares that after what he's seen, he doesn't give a damn about the case. The parasites are too strong for an ordinary human, especially one with a wife and daughter. Sero then takes the flash drive from the camera and hands it to Migi, who immediately destroys it. After these events, Shinichi realizes he can't rely on anyone, so he decides to fight alone, tracking and killing parasites one by one. As Migi predicted, the parasites don't ignore the death of their comrade and decide to start hunting Shinichi. Reika intervenes for him again, but it's useless. Other parasites even begin to suspect her of being overly human. After their meeting, Takeshi goes to his strongest parasite, Gotou, and orders him to eliminate Shinichi. Gotou responds that this time Migi will go instead, to gain experience. The next day, during a break, Migi tells Shinichi that he senses the approach of 3 parasites. Realizing he can't handle them alone, the boy decides to run, but he has no clue where to go. On top of that, it's Migi's rest period, so Shinichi is completely alone. He calls a taxi and drives around the city. After almost 4 hours, he gets out of the car and finally exhales. Migi is about to wake up any moment. At that moment, another taxi stops nearby and a man steps out. Without Migi, Shinichi can't tell if the man is human or not, so he tightens his grip on his resolve. The man asks why the boy is running, claiming everyone said he was very strong. Shinichi realizes he's facing a parasite and bolts, trying to buy time until Migi awakens. He rushes into the forest and stops only when time is almost up, but the man catches up to him. Finally, Migi wakes up. He asks how things are going, and Shinichi replies that it's bad. The man has caught up to him. Migi corrects him, saying it's not just 1, but 3 parasites, though they are all contained within a single body. While the partners discuss the situation, the parasite removes his jacket, revealing his containers, and announces that his name is Mickey, and he's here to kill. After that, he attacks, transforming both hands at once. The fight begins, with Mickey initially testing his opponent, trying to figure out his fighting tactics. Even so, it's very difficult for the boy to defend, so he decides to retreat. After running far enough, Shinichi finally decides to take a breather, but the man is right there, so the boy sprints deeper into the forest. Migi says that although there are 3 parasites in the body, only 2 are fighting. This is because one has to take control, so they need to somehow cut off the head. As a result, when the opponent begins to attack, Shinichi doesn't run. Using the trees, he dodges skillfully, then suddenly strikes at lightning speed. The opponent is nearly stunned from the surprise. He doesn't have time to react, and their blades collide. Shinichi, in mid-jump, severs his head. But that's not all. The creature's right hand attaches to the neck where Mickey's head was, and immediately forces him to return, taking his place. Then the parasite takes full control of the body, unlocking its full potential. Feeling the enemy's strength, Mickey immediately tells Shinichi that they're screwed. It turns out that in front of them aren't 3 creatures, but 5. Mickey simply couldn't control all the parasites at once. After healing, Gotou shows that the previous fights were just child's play. He attacks Shinichi with insane speed, now using not just his hands but his legs as well. All the parasites in his body act in perfect synchronization. Shinichi realizes there's no chance here and starts running. He bursts onto the road and runs with all his might. But this time, escaping isn't so simple. Fortunately, a car drives by. Grabbing onto it, the boy hopes to use it to get away from the creature. But Gotou isn't that simple. Emerging from the forest, he immediately transforms his legs, quickly catching up to his target. At one moment, Mickey grabs the steering wheel and twisting it, crashes Gotou into an oncoming car. Gotou is thrown off and falls to the ground. 2 people get out of the car, asking if he's okay. Realizing that the body is now unusable, Gotou switches hosts to 2 other unfortunate people. Shinichi, having escaped, spends the night in a local hotel. There, he learns that the detective's family has been slaughtered. He immediately calls his father and urgently asks him to leave the house, fearing for his safety. Trusting him, the man complies. Meanwhile, Sero, after losing his family, realizes he has nothing left to lose. He goes to the police station, finds the detective who investigated Shinichi's mother's murder, and tells him everything he knows about the parasites, without mentioning his informant. The parasites, after 2 failures, gather again to discuss their next actions. Reika criticizes her allies for killing the detective's family instead of him. The parasites dismiss it, saying he's just a human, but the woman cuts them off. She says that besides individual intelligence, humans have collective intelligence. If they unite, their species could simply be wiped off the face of the earth. This claim becomes the last straw for the parasites, so they decide to kill Reika. They lie in wait near her house. Sensing the threat, the woman, strangely enough, approaches them. Once together, she asks why they decided to attack her. The parasites respond that in the future, she will pose a threat to them. This reason doesn't sound very convincing, and Reika realizes that talking is pointless. Yet even so, she remains completely calm. The woman decides to engage in battle, but first changes her location. One of the parasites quickly catches up to her, intending to attack. But Reika transforms her head, and detaching a part of it, infiltrates the attacker while her main body escapes. Because of this, the approaching allies are forced to split up. The woman stays near the injured parasite, while the man pursues the main body, which meanwhile moves through the night city like a wounded lynx, frightening people around. Seeing this, the man realizes that when Reika split, she lost her intelligence and now poses no threat, so he decides to return. At the same time, the woman watches her ally. The man writhes in pain, unable to control the body. Suddenly, he jumps onto his female partner, exploding like an overripe watermelon, and the part of Reika that was inside him immediately enters the woman. Returning to her allies, the man, seeing what happened, attacks the partner, hoping to extract the part of Reika and kill it. But his plan is thwarted by the main body, which sneaks up and kills the man from behind. Returning home, the woman discovers that while she was away, Sero infiltrated her place and stole the child. The man left a note demanding a meeting at the local park park. Understanding the seriousness of the situation, Reika decides to ask Shinichi for help. But when she comes to his house, no one is there. So she calls Shinichi and asks him to meet her at the same park where Sero is supposed to arrive. After the conversation, Reika does not hurry to leave the boy's house. Taking advantage of the situation, she looks through his childhood photos with his mother. Satomi arrives at the house and catches Reika as she is leaving. The girl decides to ask her about Shinichi, but the parasite responds that she shouldn't meddle in things that aren't her concern, insisting that the boy is much stronger than she realizes. These words do not reassure Satomi, so she decides to find Shinichi herself. Wandering aimlessly through the city, she coincidentally arrives at the same park where the meeting is scheduled. Meanwhile, Reika finds the detective. Sero is surprised by the parasite's appearance. He says it seems she actually cares about the child, although she is still not capable of fully feeling human love. These words clearly irritate Reika. The detective assumes that even if he throws the infant, the parasite won't react, so he lifts the child and pretends he's going to throw it. The mother strikes the detective with lightning speed, and he falls down. Reika intercepts the child and leaves to search for Shinichi. The police find the dying Sero and try to determine who did this. The detective responds that he was attacked by a parasite in the body of a woman with an infant. On his last breath, Sero admits that his informant is Shinichi. The police mobilize all forces to search for Reika, who at that moment finds our boy. The woman remarks that she has killed 38 people, and that's very few compared to others. Only after some time did she learn to survive on regular food, and came to the conclusion that killing humans wasn't necessary. Reika adds that humans need to learn to coexist with parasites, but Shinichi doesn't believe that's even possible. Reika explains that her species is actually very fragile, so she asks that people treat her kind gently. The woman is confident that the boy will understand, as she has been organically coexisting with her parasite for a long time. Then Reika warns Shinichi about Gotou, saying that she personally created him, and it's better not to engage in battle. Gotou is a true death machine. He's invincible. At that moment, the police arrive. They surround the woman, and seeing that she matches Sarah's description, they raise their guns at her. Reika pretends not to understand what's going on, but the detective doesn't care and immediately puts a headshot on her. Confirming that she's not human, the police open fire on the parasite from all sides. For some reason, Reika doesn't defend herself, nor does she attempt to flee. The only thing she does is harden the flesh around the child to keep him safe. Then, the woman, riddled with wounds, begins approaching Shinichi. At first, the boy decides to run, but Reika transforms into his mother and asks him to stay. She sincerely pleads with him to take care of her child, because he means more to her than anything in the world. She hands the infant to the boy, and then dies. Reika's transformation into his mother breaks something inside Shinichi. He recalls the words of the fortune teller, that to heal the emptiness in his heart, he needs to speak with the one who left that hole. The ice inside the boy cracks, and all the pent-up emotions erupt. He finally begins to cry, reclaiming his humanity. At that moment, Tommy rushes to the scene, and seeing the boy's tears, genuinely rejoices, because the Shinichi she knew has finally returned. After all the events, the police bring the serial killer Uragami into a closed room. With a single look, he can distinguish humans from parasites. The police plan to use him to determine if any of these creatures are among the suspects in Detective Sero's case. Possible parasites are brought in one by one, but none of them spark Uragami's interest, except for one beautiful woman. Seeing her, the other prisoners immediately start attacking, so the woman is hurriedly taken away. Finally, Shinichi is brought to the criminal. Uragami immediately senses something and starts staring intently at the boy. This behavior raises suspicion among the detectives, but at the last moment, the man claims it was just his imagination, and Shinichi is released. After returning to school, the teenage life of our hero finally stabilizes. His interactions with classmates become warmer, and his relationship with Satomi grows stronger with each passing day. The information gathered during the investigation leads the police to Mayor Hirakawa, prompting them, along with the Special Forces unit, to plan a raid on his office, hoping to eliminate all the parasites in one strike. Before the operation begins, the detective asks Shinichi for help, and although Satomi is strongly opposed, the boy agrees. Thus, the very next day, the operation commences. The Special Forces, under Captain Yamagishi's command, arrive at the mayor's office. They block all exits and set up a perimeter. At the main entrance, special sensors are installed to distinguish ordinary humans from parasites. After preparations, Yamagishi announces over the loudspeaker that a dangerous criminal is hiding in the building, but there is no need to panic, and everyone must strictly follow instructions. The staff are gathered in the main hall, then escorted out in groups of 7 through the scanners. In one of the groups, the Special Forces detect a parasite, immediately isolate it and eliminate it with a shot to the chest. The parasite dies instantly. Hearing the gunshot and realizing that the signal from one of their own has disappeared, the parasites understand that trouble is brewing. They begin to act, which results in the following groups exiting the building without a single parasite among them. Yamagishi suspects that the creatures have figured out the sensors. Realizing that the creature is about to expose itself voluntarily, the captain orders Uragani to be deployed. The plan is simple. He will go inside with the soldiers to track down and eliminate all the creatures. Panic gradually begins to rise in the hall. One of the parasites decides to investigate the commotion. It steps out of line, blending in with the previous group, and goes unnoticed. Seeing the installed sensors, the woman immediately realizes that it's a trap. At that moment, Uragani, observing the crowd, begins pointing toward the group, indicating that there's a parasite there. Tension hangs thick in the air. Suddenly, a man tries to run, but the runner is cut down instantly. Uragani sighs heavily, reporting that the one killed was a regular human. Then it points to another, claiming this one is a real parasite. But the Special Forces soldier hesitates, and pays for it with his life immediately. The rest panic and begin shooting wildly, damaging the sensors in the process. The parasites realize that hiding is pointless. Hirakawa and his group, ignoring the Special Forces orders, retreat deeper into the building. The remaining parasites decide to draw attention to themselves. They grab civilians and use them as human shields. Screams of terror fill the hall. Captain Yamagishi, however, couldn't care less. He shows no mercy and seeks no compromise. He orders everyone to lie on the ground and follow instructions. One man, feeling invincible, stands up and begins to argue, only to be immediately killed. He was human, but that no longer matters. Yamagishi doesn't even flinch. After securing everyone and checking the hall, Yamagishi orders all assault teams to move inside the building to eliminate the remaining creatures. Completely completely unaware that Hirakawa has already located Gotou and commanded him to destroy anyone who enters. Hearing the orders, the special forces begin clearing the building. At first, everything goes smoothly. The soldiers gradually move deeper, finding stranded civilians. Then, splitting into groups, they methodically eliminate any parasites in their path, but it wouldn't be interesting if it ended so easily. At one point, the special forces encounter Gotou. Seeing the creature, Uragani doesn't perceive it as highly dangerous and panics, trying to flee. His companion rushes after him, attempting to stop him, but he's on a high alert, realizing that this creature cannot be killed by them. The special forces stand frozen. Gotou suggests they find a more spacious area. He leads them into a large room and declares that he won't attack for 2 minutes, allowing them to do as they please. The soldiers begin blasting him with every firearm they have, but it's useless. Gotou stands unmoving. Then Gotou collects all the shotgun pellets embedded in his body and starts hurling them at everyone with such force that even bulletproof vests offer no protection. The soldiers try to do something, but Gotou is unstoppable. After killing the last of them, he casually moves on, searching for the next squad. Meanwhile, the special forces manage to locate Hirakawa. They surround him from all sides. Seeing the situation he's in, he decides to make a speech, claiming that parasites are the next branch of evolution, and that the real parasites are humans, whose numbers need to be reduced. He adds that humanity is harming the environment and all living organisms on Earth, so the parasites must reduce the human population to save the planet. There's some logic to his words, but unfortunately, the special forces don't care. Without hesitation, they pepper him with shrapnel, causing the man to fall and bleed out. And then, surprise, it turns out he was an ordinary human. Realizing what they've done, the soldiers panic, and, as the cherry on top, Gotou appears, amplifying their sense of despair. Meanwhile, Uragami, along with his warden, finally returns to his group, or rather, what's left of it. Seeing the bloody massacre, the warden is distracted for a second, and Uragami, taking advantage of the moment, coldly shoots him, then wastes no time leaving the area. At the same time, Captain Yamagishi and his team finally encounter Gotou. They corner him in a narrow corridor, but in seconds, the creature turns one of the squads into a bloody pulp. The captain rushes after him, trying to stop the monster. But Gotou is no joke. He's a living Terminator. He transforms his limbs and begins methodically annihilating the special forces, using the bodies of the dead soldiers as cover. Realizing that the confined space favors the parasite, Yamagishi decides to regroup. He takes the remaining soldiers and makes a break for the roof, but only he survives the climb. Gotou calmly follows him, intending to finish off the captain. Yamagishi, desperate, opens fire, but the opponent easily deflects the bullets by turning his arm into a shield. The captain then resorts to a grenade launcher, but it makes no difference. In an instant, Gotou closes the distance and decapitates Yamagishi in a single motion. The body falls, and the parasite, wasting no time, jumps from the roof onto the street, landing right in front of Shinichi. Scanning him with a glance, Gotou immediately understands that this entire massacre started because of the boy. He promises to kill him, but not right now. Saying this, the creature disappears behind a building in a single leap, leaving behind only mountains of corpses. After everything that has happened, Shinichi realizes he is in deep trouble. There's no way he can defeat this creature, and paranoia sets in. Even though he feels a bit calmer at home, the moment he steps outside, he sees Gotou everywhere. Shinichi keeps running through every possible outcome of a fight in his head. Migi assures him that it's not over yet. They could bring Mamoru in or call the police, but Shinichi cuts off both options, realizing there's no use. The boy decides the only solution is to run. At one point, Shinichi meets Satomi. Seeing his state, she tries to find out what happened, but the boy simply hugs her and runs away. That evening, Satomi tracks him down. She comforts him and then invites him to her home, saying that she won't have anyone else there today. Once there, the couple, without overthinking, decides to forget everything and give in to their feelings, passionately making love. After their intimacy, Shinichi finally confesses his love to Satomi. She's genuinely happy to hear it and tells him that no matter what happens, they'll face it together. Hearing this, Shinichi finally finds inner peace and decides for himself that he truly wants to live. The next day, Migi tells Shinichi that Gotou is somewhere nearby, so the boy steals a car and decides to put as much distance as possible between them. On the way, Migi announces that he has a plan. As a result, instead of just running, they, without waiting for the right moment, push their car off a cliff directly onto the approaching Gotou. The car collides and explodes, but unfortunately, it doesn't work. The duo flees deeper into the forest. Having put some distance between them, Migi suggests taking the fight to Gotou, but a head-on confrontation is absurd, so the parasite decides to split up and attack from different angles. When Gotou catches up, Migi stretches across the trees, distracting the enemy. Shinichi seizes the moment, igniting a prepared stick and throwing it at the opponent, hitting him squarely in the leg. The parasite's cells begin to lose their structure, and Gotou is momentarily distracted. At that moment, Migi attacks, trying to decapitate him, but the strike isn't strong enough. The man intercepts the parasite and begins to regenerate. The chance is lost. Realizing the hopelessness of the situation, Migi orders Shinichi to run. Shinichi protests, but the parasite insists, saying there's no point in both of them dying. Gritting his teeth, the boy turns and runs into the forest, leaving his friend behind and condemning him to certain death. After reaching a safe distance, Shinichi finally stops and fully comprehends the despair of losing his friend. By nightfall, he arrives at a nearby village. Passing by one of the houses, he's noticed by the owner. Seeing the boy's condition, the old woman offers him to stay for the night. Shinichi agrees, and the grandmother, taking advantage of the moment, tends to his wound and feeds him. The next day, the boy decides to leave, but the grandmother insists he stays a bit longer. She shows him the village and a huge garbage dump. She explains that the local authorities dump chemicals there, and the residents can do nothing about it. That night, while Shinichi sleeps, he dreams of Migi, or rather, the tiny part of him that remains in Shinichi's body. It's minuscule, almost without intelligence. Its power is only enough to manifest an eye where Shinichi's right hand is. Meanwhile, rumors begin circulating in the village about a huge creature killing local hunters. Some men come to the grandmother's house, blaming Shinichi for all the misfortunes, since he is an outsider. They believe he is behind the killings. From the crowd, a man steps forward to defend Shinichi, claiming he personally saw the creature. It's clearly not the boy. The man decides that tomorrow they will gather and try to kill the monster together. Upon learning the situation, Shinichi realizes it's Gotou, and that everyone heading for him tomorrow will die. Accepting this, he prepares to confront the creature himself, intending to avenge Migi as well. The grandmother tries to dissuade him, but seeing it's pointless, she steps back, only advising the boy to carefully plan his approach before acting. That night, Shinichi leaves. He takes a rusty cleaver and heads deep into the forest, hoping to encounter Gotou before the hunters. Strangely enough, the boy feels absolutely no fear, even though he knows his chances of survival are nearly zero. Going deeper into the forest, he begins to move quietly, knowing that his only chance to win is a surprise attack. Moreover, there's no parasite left in his body, so the creature probably won't sense him. At one point, Shinichi comes across a sleeping Gotou. Without hesitation, he slowly approaches and tries to decapitate him, but the monster wakes up and immediately attacks. Shinichi is forced to hide. He realizes the situation is grim and runs through possible strategies in his mind. Understanding that fighting the creature head-on would be pure madness, he hopes to strike it with a single decisive blow. He finds a branch and transforms it into a massive spear. Then he climbs a tree and waits for Gotou to come closer. When the moment is right, the boy jumps, hoping to pierce the monster, but Gotou reacts in time again. Shinichi calls out to his companion, asking what happened to Migi, but his friend remains silent. Gotou merely smirks and says that his partner is gone. Hearing this, Shinichi launches a desperate attack, but Gotou easily disarms him and sends the boy flying, straight toward the garbage dump the old woman had previously shown him. Upon landing, Shinichi tries to regain his bearings, but Gotou is already approaching. In despair, with chaos in his mind, he suddenly remembers the injury Migi sustained after the fight with the special forces. Without thinking, he grabs a rusty cleaver and, putting all his speed into the strike, thrusts it into the monster's side. Then, skillfully dodging, Shinichi flees deeper into the forest. After putting some distance between them, he tries to catch his breath. But at that moment, an enraged Gotou appears, hurling trees at him. Seeing that this doesn't work, the creature swings a tentacle for a finishing blow. At the last moment, the limb detaches and sticks to the boy. It's Migi. But the surprises don't end there. The cleaver Shinichi had used to stab Gotou was apparently coated with some chemicals, which once inside the creature began to spread. This disrupts the connection between the parasites, allowing Migi to regain consciousness. Due to the contamination, Gotou's body starts to swell, causing him excruciating pain. Losing his sanity, the creature launches one final attack, but Migi counterattacks, causing Gotou to explode like a firecracker. Afterwards, the pair turns and heads toward the garbage dump. Migi explains that when he merged with Gotou's body, he fell into a sort of hibernation. All mental and cognitive processes were handled by Gotou's body, so Migi didn't have to strain himself. In this state, a massive amount of information flowed through him, which he greatly enjoyed. But then Migi interrupts himself and points out that Gotou isn't completely dead. Shinichi turns back and sees the parasite, like a liquid terminator, gathering all its fragments and reassembling. Migi asks Shinichi to finish off the enemy, but the boy refuses. He believes he has no right to do so. After all, Gotou is not human, and judging him by human laws is wrong. Killing him simply because he is dangerous seems unjust to Shinichi. Moreover, Gotou's regeneration doesn't guarantee he won't return, so the boy turns and walks away. But after only a short distance, he stops. Shinichi realizes that, although it's not his place to judge a parasite, he must protect those close to him. With a heavy heart, he turns back and, mentally apologizing to Gotou, delivers the final blow. After the events at City Hall, all the parasites disappeared. Drawing lessons from the chaos, they became far more cautious, and many decided to switch to human food, killing fewer people. One night, Migi visits Shinichi in a dream and tells him that he's rethought a lot while inside Gotou's body and now plans to go into hibernation. Shinichi tries to dissuade his companion, but Migi has already made up his mind. The parasite promises to return Shinichi's hand and assures him that he will now be able to live an ordinary life. Shinichi asks if they will ever see each other again, to which Migi responds that he doesn't know, maybe someday, but he has no intention of dying yet. Upon waking, Shinichi initially thinks it was just a dream, but when he calls out to Migi and hears nothing, he realizes it was real. The weight of this truth presses heavily on him. Still, after reflecting on the situation, he accepts his friend's choice and decides to move forward, gradually restoring normalcy to his life. Shinichi begins to enjoy his daily routine, spending more time with Satomi. Yet even when he's with her, he sometimes remembers Migi and contemplates the purpose of the parasites and their role on Earth. Over time, Shinichi comes to understand that parasites are simply another organism, part of nature and the natural order. order. Everything seems peaceful. But one day, while walking with Satomi, Shinichi spots Uragami. Realizing who it is, he sends Satomi ahead and approaches the killer, intending to find out what he wants. Using experience to outmaneuver the inexperienced Shinichi, Uragami presses a knife to Satomi's throat and drags her to the roof of a building. There, he encounters a couple, whom he quickly dispatches. When Shinichi reaches the roof, Uragami, threatening Satomi's life, demands that Shinichi reveal the truth about the parasites and who he really is, certain that Shinichi is not human. Shinichi agrees to say whatever is needed, but Satomi begs him not to, confident that he is still the same kind-hearted boy. Uragami tells her to shut up, threatening to kill her in front of Shinichi. With nothing to lose, Shinichi launches a lightning-fast attack. He blocks the knife with his left hand and uses it to crush Uragami's jaw. Unfortunately, he doesn't manage to save Satomi, who falls from the roof. At that moment, Migi awakens and rescues her. Thanks to Migi, Shinichi lifts Satomi back onto the roof. Lying together, he tells her about the little dog he once threw into the trash. He explains that after she left, he retrieved it from the bin and gave it a proper burial. Satomi responds that she already knows, because he is the same Shinichi she has always loved. About the anime itself, I can say without exaggeration that it's a classic. Great anime. By the way, I've already watched it, but after rewatching it now, I have a completely different perception. Very interesting plot, animation, cool, non-annoying characters, logical actions. Everything is at the highest level. Of course, there are minor inconsistencies. For example, it's unclear where the parasites even came from, why the author doesn't explain it at all. Also, the nature of Gotou is not entirely clear, how he managed to combine so many parasites in one body. There were 5 of them. Gotou is the head, but are the rest limbs or not? At the same time, part of the human body should have remained, because Reika said that parasites cannot survive without another form of life. I just don't get how it works. At one point, I remember he was riddled with bullets and no blood flowed, but when he was wounded in the side, it came out. So, was it part of the human body or not? I probably just didn't understand something. Also, certain scenes caught my eye, for example, at the abandoned building, where Shinichi went to Kana's place of death. How could the detective even get close if the boy was alone and had super hearing? Especially the little dog. It's unclear where it was, he heard it. And here, apparently, it's night, far from the road. No people, no cars, complete silence. And still Shinichi didn't hear. Unclear. Or also the situation with the special forces when they first encountered Gotou during the mayor's office raid. That was strange too. Instead of taking him down on the spot, they went after him. Why, I ask? I get it, they wouldn't have killed him anyway, but still, it would have been logical to, well, at least try. Moreover, they didn't even know where this guy was leading them. Maybe it's a trap? They went after him so calmly, like sheep to slaughter. That looked very logical. But still, overall, the anime is top tier. One season fits a very cool story. You can watch it in one sitting, everything is clear and, most importantly, complete. That's all, friends. Bye.